We are live. See how we do. Bring that over there. Give this a couple minutes. All right. So we're live. This is the first time we've been live in a while, huh, Jack?
Yeah. I think since the Bolo show, probably a good 6 months ago.
Yeah. And
At least.
So we got Dan Piercy coming into the chat. All right. Give a couple minutes, let some people come in here. But normally we have the last call show right now, right, Jack? Premiering.
Right, yeah. Friday from our typical Simpleman's Comics programming is the last call show. Unfortunately, with the Diamond distributor kind of like late last second notice that they are no longer going to be supplying new comics to LCS's comic book shops. Unfortunately, that puts a crimp on a lot of our programming, but have no fear. We have a plan worked on right now. We have a lot of new content in the works that we've been working on in the last few days. But in the meantime, before we could kind of get anything produced, we didn't want to miss this Friday slot because we know how important this content is to you guys, especially right now, while many of us are social distancing in our homes. So I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity and do a little live stream, something like you mentioned we haven't done in so long.
Yeah, so we are doing a live stream, and tonight it's basically going to be a Q&A, or as we call it at work, AMA, or Ask Us Anything. So we're going to do an Ask Us Anything episode. And just to give you a little rundown, we have not done a live stream in a while, so we're a little bit rusty. So sorry about that. But either way, the questions we're going to answer tonight, somewhat unfiltered. I mean, just common sense questions, right? But either way, all super chats tonight are going to be donated to Heroes Initiative, right?
That's right. Yeah. The Comic Core, the YouTube channel, guys, what great channel that we have openly talked about, plugged. We made appearances on the channel. You may just be seeing one or more of us on the channel tonight. They have a great working relationship with the Hero Initiative where all of their revenue from their channel goes to the Hero Initiative. We wanted to support those efforts in doing the live chat tonight. So any super chats tonight that we will be going to the Hero Initiative, which is a great charity that helps out comic book creators who maybe came before the time of financial proliferation in our hobby.
Right. So we're going to run this about an hour. An hour, I think, also because Comic Core, they actually have their live stream going up at 10:05. And you want to jump from here over to the Comic Core channel because they're actually going to have the president from Hero Initiative on their live stream tonight. And I believe Jack's going to be jumping over there as well. I won't be able to make it. We're going to have a Patreon private hangout after this live chat. So all the Patreon members, we're going to be going into a private chat, continue going on, talking comics. It's a crazy time we got going on right now. And one more thing, we will prioritize the questions we answer. If you super chat a question, that super chat gets donated to Hero Initiative, but we will also make sure we prioritize that question to be answered. Isn't that right, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, we want to really support the Hero Initiative and the folks behind the Comic Core who are doing their best to try to get the Hero Initiative as much spotlight as possible in the YouTube comic community. So we want to make sure we do that. So yeah, guys, get those questions in. Let us know anything that you guys may have wanted to know. It can be comic related. We can talk books tonight. We can talk strategies for coronavirus quarantine buying. We can talk where we think the hobby is going to go. We can talk YouTube. We can talk. You may have a burning question you've always wanted to ask Brian or myself. Whatever it is, nothing's off limited. We are completely unfiltered, untethered, and ready to answer your questions.
Yeah, we actually have a question right now from Manny the Comic Collector. He says, what's your thoughts on Donny Cates? On Donny Cates telling those who dislike the new Warriors to F off? Does it create more damage to fragile comic industry? I'll let you take the first stab at that.
So, Donny Cates is somebody I'm a big fan of. On top of it, somebody I've had a chance to with and meet a few times. He's a guy I really like personally. I did see the Twitter exchange that you're referencing here, so I am familiar with it. I think that Donny is very passionate, sometimes passionate to a fault. You know, he definitely comes from a place where he politically leans very liberal, and sometimes that gets him into some tour issues, whether it's with comic skaters or whether it's with just people who just politically don't see eye to eye with him. And sometimes he can get himself into some of these Twitter spats where, maybe he comes off like he's not respecting someone else's opinion. The new Warriors topic with, if you're not familiar with, Safe Space and Snowflake has been, non-binary characters has been real polarizing because certainly it's representation that needs to exist, I guess, but it's at the same point, it's feels forced to a lot of people. So a lot of people are very much against it. Donnie was defending it, saying basically give it a chance, which I don't disagree with, but the mode that he took with a lot of times with his fans, bottom line is he's becoming real polarizing. He's becoming the type of guy where you either love him or really hate him.
Right. So we just have also another one from K-Dog who said, just finished Silver Surfer Epic Collection Volume 3 Freedom. Any other Silver Surfer Epic Collection recommendations? I'm not a big Silver Surfer fan or Fantastic Four for that matter. Do you read a lot of Silver Surfer, Jack?
Traditionally, I really haven't.
I read Silver Surfer Black. I'll say
recently. Yeah, I read Silver Surfer Black. I read the Mike Allred Silver Surfer before it. But so I would be a bad one for this, but I tell you what, it definitely gives me an idea for a topic, and I'll give you a spoiler. This is a Simpleman's live stream spoiler. One of the new pieces of content that we're going to be working on is a top trades show where we're going to try to give you guys an idea. Don't get me wrong, we got that secondary market stuff you guys love to see. We got that comic flipping talk, but we're also going to cover a little bit of some great reads because listen, we're all stuck right now in the house. It's a great opportunity to read comics. There are some great deals on like Amazon and places like that. And we want to try to point you in those directions, but support your LCS first.
Right. So the next one we have is from Cameron D. What comic artist and comic writer would you like to team up and what project would it be? That's one that's going to right off the top of my hat. Or I would say one of my favorite writers. I'm a big Ed Brubaker fan. I would like to see Ed Brubaker, and I like Mauricio Villarreal's artwork from Knights of Golden Sun, Honor and Curse. I'd like to see them team up to write some. Ed Brubaker's in his best when he's writing those noir, fatale, crime suspense type books. I'd like to see an independent book with those two as a creative team. You're probably going to go a bit more blockbuster, right? More well known.
I think my tendency is to maybe make my my dream matchup with Donny Cates or somebody like that. Put Donny Cates on, say, Batman. Donny Cates on Batman with Greg Capullo or something like that. Somebody dark who can really kind of tell the story. Let me get some Perillo cover bees, something like that. But yeah, I want to see. I've made I've been held back from the fact that I want to see Donny Cates write Batman and believe he will write Batman eventually.
So here's a good one. Blue Green Artifacts says, have you seen Bloodshot yet? And any opinions of the future of Valiant movies? You're going to have to sit this one out for just a second because we already know you're the biggest fanboy. I will probably say I'm not a Valiant comic book reader, right? I don't read a lot of Valiant. Jack's been like, hey, you got to read these. And I was like, hey, I already got a pull list the size of my arm. I just can't get to it right now.
Yeah.
With that being said, last night I watched Bloodshot and I actually way, 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 way better than what I was expecting it to be. 10 times better, which isn't saying much, than Birds of Prey, because Birds of Prey is just crap. But I love Deadshot. Vin Diesel wasn't too over the top Vin Diesel-y, if that's a word, but played the part perfectly. I haven't read many Bloodshot comics, so I didn't know what to base it off of. So going in blind, great movie, enjoyed it, recommend everyone watch it. I mean, it's a good to take your mind off the situation everyone's going through right now. It's a great popcorn movie. I compared it to a little bit of Terminator / mixes up with Universal Soldier, but I enjoyed it. And in fact, I think the movie served its purpose. When you talk about comic book movies, now it makes me kind of want to go back and reread some of those comics that I've been missing out on. But I'll let you answer as well, Jack.
Yeah, my only negative, I would say, is that as somebody who has read the comics, it was a bit paint by numbers origin story that I tend to not love in comic book movies. It reminded me of, say, like an Iron Man 1 or something like that, which is not a bad thing. It's just that at this point in my comic, like, movie viewing, I've gotten to a point where it's like, as a comic fan, I come into the story already knowing a lot, but I realize it's enough for everybody. Where it's funny, there were some early negative reviews, and then the recent reviews have been very good. The people who negatively review it say it feels like a 90s action movie. The people who positively review it say it feels like a 90s action movie. So I guess it really
where the
depends
Universal
on
Soldier stuff comes from.
right. It really depends on what your view of a 90s action movie. If you miss that, like, turn your brain off for an hour and a half, shoot 'em up, tagline style movie, then you'll enjoy this movie. If you are happy that those movies are a thing of the past, then it's probably not going to be for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to back it up. Go ahead.
Paul Diggs' comment, he said, I might just watch Pitch Black instead. That's what I was fully expecting. I was fully expecting Pitch Black all over again, but I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was somewhat, there's some similarities, but it's different enough to where I was entertained.
Mm-mm. I think that if you've had preconceived notions on the character, and if you watch it, I think you will enjoy it. You will be pleasantly surprised.
Right.
And there's a great opportunity right now with what we're all going through. We're all stuck inside the house. A great chance to get it, to watch it.
Yeah.
I wanted to take it back a step, Brian, from a comment from ChangeUp555. He says, what are your predictions on how LCSs will handle not being able to sell comics for a few weeks? So what's your prediction, Brian? What's your thought? Where are we going with this whole thing?
I've kind of mentioned this. I think, I'm new to this whole peg and freaking stuff up here. But anyway, so I kind of mentioned this before. I think no doubt there's going to be some comic book stores that aren't able to rebound from this and are probably going to go under. But I also think there's a lot of comic book stores out there that were upfront on e-commerce, upfront on all these different ways to get books into people's hands already. So now they already have a head start with what's been going on with comic book stores having to close. There's some out there, I believe, that are still even open, but for the majority of them, you're seeing comic book stores can't open right now as non-essential businesses. You're seeing they're doing curbside pickup. Some of them are doing delivery. Some of them are doing, and there's a lot of ingenuity that's coming out of this also. Some are even trying to say, hey, buy some gift cards, bunch of different ways to try to keep income coming in while they're not able to get books out. But I firmly believe the comic industry as a whole is going to come out of this changed than when it went in. I think there's going to be innovative and ingenuity that's put some processes in place that when they come out of it, those changes are going to stay, and it's going to be for the better of the comic industry, because there's going to be a lot of lessons learned here that comic industry, like whether it's retailers, publishers, so forth, are going to say never again, and some things are going to change from here. But there's still some more mail orders going out. The hardest part is what are they going to do while there's no new comic books coming in?
Yeah, and for me, I think that the biggest thing is I don't want anyone to get the impression that we don't feel for the shops, because it's sad that in reality, a probably solid chunk of shops are going to end up closing. Having said that, Brian's right that like the business, I say the business, I don't mean the comic book business, I mean the retail business in general, has been moving to a digital plus format. And what I mean by digital plus means digital plus brick and mortar. And the reason why we call it digital plus is because the brick and mortar isn't the actual necessity anymore. The digital is. If you do not have a digital footprint, you cannot survive. You can physically survive without a brick and mortar, and we've even seen that within the comic book industry. But the reality of the situation is, even if you are completely prepared and you're selling online and you're doing your thing, this is difficult. But we're seeing shops do creative things like live claim sales on Instagram posts, selling keys. We're seeing increased flow onto eBay. We're probably going to see, apps like Mercari see increased listings and traffic. I'm all for it. Like this is a time when you're going to have to hustle.
I
And
will
you're
say
going to
also
have
this is a
to
great time as far as customer service is definitely going to be highlighted.
Oh, without doubt. And, I would be, doing things like, again, we're talking about reading. I would be trying to, Diamond's closed for new shipments. As of right now, you can still pick up in stock things. I would still be working the trade game. There are a lot of people that are needing something to read right now while they're stuck in the house. You just really got to get creative. It's unfortunate that this happened, but I agree with you that, innovation always comes from struggle. That it's the old, the diamond under pressure type thing. So I think that the more pressure that this industry is under, the more innovation it's going to force. And I think people will be more prepared in the future if something like this ever happens. The big key is also going to be how do we react once we go back to business as usual, because it's going to be a possible madhouse. The key is going to be publishers supporting the LCSs in their efforts, because every LCS is going to be hurting or cash strapped. It's going to be very difficult. There's been a lot of talk about what to do, and I see some of it going on in the chat right now. So I don't think any publishers will close down. If any, it'll be very small ones. I don't want to use anybody's clip out into the world, but your small ones are the ones who I think are the biggest jeopardy. There's been a lot of talk about digital first sales. It seems more and more companies have come out saying they're not going to do that. They feel like the reason why is they feel like it would bastardize the LCS. If they sold a comic to you today at digital and then tried to sell it as a physical copy in a couple months, they believe that sales would be negatively impacted. And the biggest thing they don't want to do as an industry is hurt the LCS any more than they're already hurt. So I don't think we're going to see
Dark
that
Horse just
happen.
Dark Horse just put out a big press announcement saying that, right?
Yeah, saying they will not take part in it. I do believe there have been a couple other publishers saying they're staunchly against it. I know Eric Larson from Image came out and said, he will not allow any sort of reproduction of Savage Dragon to go digital first. So it's extremely difficult times. We're gonna have to just get through it, but I do think our industry is strong enough to survive.
Right. So I want to give a big shout out to Strange Tales to Collect, Adam, for the $20 super chat. He didn't even have a question. He's just saying, I hope this helps. So like I said, all the super chats we get tonight will be donated to Hero Initiative, helps comic creators in needs. So we'll be doing that. But also if you have questions, and the questions come in the chat kind of quick. So if you want to make sure we definitely address it, not trying to just get money from you, but it highlights it. And the super chats, we are prioritizing those questions, but we are trying to answer them as much as we can without the chat scrolling past it. So if by all means,
I want to go
also,
back to one.
if you want to ask it again, put it in the
Go ahead.
chat again as well. But did you see one?
JB, yeah, JB from Discovery Comics talked about the possibility of Dime moving from a monopoly. Man, that's the hope. So Marvel has reportedly been calling local comic shops, trying to gauge interest. Like, do they still have demand and means of getting comics to customers for new comic book day releases? I have to believe that they're doing that for a reason. They're either looking into, well, if this is going to be a multi-month shutdown, say, if it was going to be a multi-month shutdown, I think They may be looking at it like, we don't want to participate in a multi-month shutdown if there is a possible way that shops are successfully distributing comics to customers. So they, if Marvel does something, people are going to follow suit. Here's the biggest thing is, I think we all can agree, the monopoly system is terrible. I managed sports card stores. I've managed sneaker stores, and the ability to buy and negotiate terms based upon multiple wholesalers and retail and distributors is essential. It allows a small business to have power over their buying opportunity. It allows them to differentiate their product.
Yeah.
The next,
But wasn't it also done out of the
and it just-
solution of the issue before back in the 90s with overprinting?
Sure, but that was a situation where also there was a practice of a large overprint, which Diamond and comic publishers have started to really dwindle on. You're looking at a industry average about 10% overprint. So even if, say, there was 3 distributors who each did a 5% overprint, you wouldn't be looking at a say overflow of books. Also, there wouldn't be a huge need for that overprint if there was other distributors, because if one distributor was sold out, you have the option to go to the next one. The person who doesn't want to hear this is Diamond. Diamond doesn't want to hear this, but they tell you like they don't have time to say do more max shipments because they're already like max capacity. Well, you're max capacity because you have more customers than you can handle because you're the only game in town. If they had a third of their customers and then 2/3 of their customers were spread out amongst, say, 2 or 3 other distributors, then you would start to see competition. You would start to see one company say, well, we're going to put all of our books into bubble wrap before we put them into the box. And then that causes competition and kind of a trickle down effect amongst competitors. But we're not getting that right now. And there's no reason for Diamond to do it. Diamond has no reason. There's no leverage against Diamond for Diamond to do anything or change anything. They get 100% of the business regardless.
So do you think this question isn't in here? Well, I'll say go back to Cameron D. And he said, "What would they do about variants if everything went digital?" I think one thing, if they went straight digital, I think the comic industry would lose a lot more money because there's a lot of people out there that want the physical good. But I would think if they were to do digital, I think you're probably going to see not variant covers, but you're going to see something like premium, like you do with video games, right? You got the basic edition, then you got the premium edition, and then you got the super deluxe edition where it's going to have like more material digitally available. But I don't see them going pure digital right now.
I don't believe they'll ever go digital only. Because
that's a lot of money I think they'd lose.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're well aware coming from the speculative community. When you look at the total number of sales that a book sells, and we've talked about this on the channel before, it sells from a number of categories. It sells to guys who want to flip a book. It sells to guys who want to invest in a book for the long-term future. It sells to guys who want to, it sells from guys who want to build a run. It sells from guys who want to read. And if you go digital, you now only have your readers. You have now cut out every other type of buyer and made them obsolete. You've also told people all that money you spent on your physical comic book collections is almost worthless because it's not even a product that's going to continue in the future. If comic books don't continue in the future, what's the reason for the next generation of people to value your Amazing Fantasy 15? Why should they care? Because comic books to them are a digital thing. So, I think that would do so much damage to the industry. I can't foresee the publishers ever going to a digital only
The
system.
only time I would like a digital comic is if you send something in to be graded, whether it's CGC, CBCS. I like for them to grade it, and then you get like a PDF copy of the book. Because you always hear people saying,
I think that
what's good is it graded if I can't read the book? Well, if you have a PDF copy or a digital copy, you have it graded, and you can read it if you want to read it digitally. But other than that, I'm not a big digital comic person either.
Yeah, and for me, I've read more and more digital over the last couple of years. I just look at it as like a temporary thing. Like I pay, I read it. It's because I want to know what happens in the story right now. It's usually for my impatience. But ultimately, I'm a collector at heart. You can't take these short boxes away from me. I couldn't live with that.
Right. So Adam from Strange Tales Collect said, do you see Keanu Reeves taking a multiple movie deal with Marvel as Ghost Rider or someone big or do a one-shot villain appearance? I think if they would sign him, I think it would be a multi-movie contract. Because that's too much of power to.
I've been staunchly against the belief that Keanu Reeves is going to play the major role everyone thinks he's going to play. And here's one
You think
reason.
he's going to play a tumbleweed like in SpongeBob?
I don't know if people realize Keanu Reeves is 54 years old. So there's so much talk about Keanu Reeves playing, say, like Namor or this. You got to look at where we are in the MCU. Let's say Keanu Reeves is going to be in 3 movies for Marvel. Then we're talking about the next 10 years. And if we're talking about the next 10 years, you're talking about a guy who's going to be 64 years old. So I do see the value in Keanu Reeves, but I think a one-off villain or an accessory hero who, is only going to be here for, a movie or two.
That's about as good as having him as a cameo as a stormtrooper in a Star Wars movie, though.
I mean, but not necessarily. You look at like Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I don't think Ego is coming back, but that character did very well for that one movie. So I think that role similar to that, where he's the villain in one movie. I think that he would be a major draw, and I think he can do more than one movie. I just don't think that certain characters like Ghost Rider or Namor or Moon Knight, like he's been linked to, I don't think those are the answers, because I think that in those roles, you want characters who are going to be here for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
I agree, but I think it'd be better served if he played some role, even if it was like a 5-movie contract. He had like a major role in one movie, and then like how MCU does, where they have like kind of cameo shots in like a couple movies. But
he'd still be old as dirt. He'd be old as dirt.
He's not Kurt Russell old though.
But see, that's the thing. I think he would have been great. There's some great actors, Keanu, Denzel, who were approached with these roles 10
Kurt
years
Russell
ago.
Didn't go to San Diego either.
But they got laughed at 10 years ago. They got laughed at. And now here we are. And all these guys want in superhero movies. But the truth is they really missed their time. And they're going to have to play, they're going to have to play certain roles that fit into the cinematic universe.
So I'll even be a bit of a hypocrite here and say, like, there's one role that I'd like him in that's not an MCU, that's DCU, but it goes against what I was just saying, where like kind of highlighting Keanu Reeves. I'd like to see him play the Question, but I just think that'd be kind of a hard movie to do. But
I think he could play the Question in like a Justice League Dark movie or something like that. I think he could play the Question in.
Yeah. So look how old Liam Neeson was when he did Taken. I think a couple of movies deal for Keanu would be great. I agree.
But Keanu, you have to look at you gotta look at Keanu. Like Keanu, exactly like he doesn't look today like the Keanu of 15 years ago. And then again, we're not talking about today. We got to project 10 years into the future. From the time that those main Marvel actors signed their contracts to the time of Endgame, that entire run was like almost 20 years. So you got to realize that, like, you can say whatever you want about how you feel. He
was his fountain of youth, man. See, I stumped you so bad you froze. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Don't you say that, Drew. You take that back. Leave it to Jack to freeze on a live stream. All right, going on without Jack. No one needs Jack. We'll bring him back if he comes back in. Fix your internet, Jack. We need a super chat for Jack's internet. Just kidding. All right, what we got? What else? Let's go look, see what other questions you have. Favorite Batman the Animated Series episode? Man, it's been a couple of years since I've watched. I know that some of my favorites were, I always like the Christmas episodes. But now I feel like I'm in here talking to myself. But at least I can get a word in. Keanu is Ra's al Ghul. There we go. Oh, he's coming back in slowly. Maybe it'll be better. I know Comic Andy asked whether it was gas or charcoal. Always charcoal, man. Although I do have an electric smoker, which makes it easy. We got also we got a $5 super chat from Drew. I would say, Drew, man, you're the sexiest. It's got to be the beard. Although I saw you when you had long hair. You need to grow your hair back out again. Be like a skinnier Otis from WWE. Oh, we got him back. Hold on. We're bringing him back in. Yeah, we're talking.
So
I was
saying
talking
you
major
got
shit about
me in, coach. I said this is why we don't do live streams.
Oh, I'll let you answer this. Drew Manchu did a $5 super chat and said, "Who's the sexiest Comic Core member?" I said it gotta be Drew.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. I said he's like a skinny Otis.
I don't know, man. I'm real partial to Chad, man. I'm real partial to Chad.
It's the bubbly.
You know, a little bit of the bubbly.
Chris Jericho of Comic Core. I paid $5.
Yeah, right. I paid $5 for that, right?
I'm surprised Drew doesn't have the X-Men question. Hold on, here we got a follow-up question from Adam. Do you see Marvel start relying on digital de-aging to make older stars work in hero roles? They have, right, with Michael Douglas and but I think its question also is like permanently, because they always did it for like these flashback scenes, right, in the MCU. I think it would be expensive though.
I think there's roles for Keanu and people like that. Like I think there's roles for them. My argument is just when everyone wants to attach him to these youth roles, like like Moon Knight. Everybody wanted him to be Moon Knight. And again, Moon Knight doesn't start up for 4 or 5 years, so you'd be looking at a guy who was pushing 60 by the time that really kicks off in a big way. So I think I think Marvel will find roles I just like you mentioned, like they did with some of their golden age heroes. I think can easily be played by older characters. I like what they did with Red Guardian with the Black Widow movie. I think a lot of people are anticipating some positive things there.
All right, so we also got another question from ChangeUp555. Who's your favorite variant cover artist right now?
As a reseller,
Peach would be Ryan Brown.
Yeah, as a reseller, Peach Momoko. But I'm not a Peach Momoko really fan. I've said that before on the channel. But as somebody who resells comic books, I certainly love the consistent action that Peach Momoko's books are driving. My favorite artist right now, Ryan Brown is serious. That's a good one. That's a good one, Brian. But other than that, I would probably say Delato on a consistent basis. I think Delato just
like you said, Momoko on a resale level, it's kind of saturated, but it seems like J. Scott Campbell variants always sell. There's always a collection.
Yeah, I always grab J. Scott variants, especially like when they're on the clearance sales and things like that. You just can't go wrong with J. Scott books. He has a built-in following.
Right. Cameron D also asked when you were benched. I said I don't like smoker. Cameron D said, "What do you cook with the electric smoker?" So I'll tell you one thing. I prefer charcoal, but the good thing about electric smoker is it's so easy to just set it, forget it, put the chips in. So you can smoke a lot more things rather than babysitting a charcoal smoker. But pork butt's always the main go-to. Ribs, chicken wings, pretty much anything. chicken breast, steaks, especially if you reverse sear the steak. Freaking delicious. But Blue Green also asked, what's your fantasy casting for Silver Surfer?
I haven't put a ton of thought into it. I think that because of the nature of character, they can go a lot of different directions with it because there's going to be so much CGI with it. I do like the Common suggestion in the chat. I think that Common would play that role very well. I'd like to see Common in the MCU, especially since like the terrible way DC used him in the Suicide Squad movie. So I think he would be good, but I don't think I put enough time into really thinking about Silver Surfer, but Silver Surfer's coming. We know that.
Yeah. And then Matt Dungy. Good to see Matt Dungy. Met him at Baltimore Comic-Con. Great guy. He says, what is a comic you're going to check out or catch up on during this time of isolation? So there's a couple for me. I want to go back and read Magnificent Miss Marvel because I've had a few people say that that's a great story, even though I've said I'm not a big Miss Marvel fan. So I'm going to go back and read that. And after watching that Bloodshot movie, I want to go back and read some of those Valiant books as I have time. I've actually started buying more trades and omnibuses already with this slowdown time, just because it's easier to read stories in big volumes at one time.
What about Valiant you? Valiant has Tim Seeley's Bloodshot #1, by the way, for free digitally. You should check that out. Go to their Twitter. Valiant Comics, they've been putting that out over about the last week or so. So that's something to check out. For me, one thing I've actually been reading over the last couple of days, and it's got me going down a rabbit hole. And I read for two purposes, right? I read for just the sheer enjoyment and fun, and I have that stack of books. And then I have other trades that I pick up for research purposes, future investments, trying to get familiar with certain characters. And with that in mind, I've really been checking out New Agents of Atlas, the War of the Realms trade paperback. I've been checking out more of like the Sword Masters, the Arrow books like that. I really want to get a grasp of where I really believe that we're going to Asia in a major way in the MCU. And I think I really want to be prepared and knowledgeable so I'm not reacting to the market and I have a sense of what could and could not be. Versus it seems like every week when we're talking about these characters on the Volo list, we're like, yeah, I mean, they're going to go there, so they could be valid, but we're guessing. So I want to have a better idea. So I'm reading the books, I'm going through them. So that's kind of my first project. Other than that, I've also been double back and rereading some stuff. So my memory isn't what it used to be. I don't retain things. So sometimes it's fun to go back. I've been going back through Southern Bastards, which is my favorite independent comic. So it's a great time to do things like that.
Manifest Destiny is a good one also.
Yep.
But yeah, mine isn't what it used to be. Shoot, we brain fart half the time. I know I do.
Oh, I'm telling you, right?
Dominique Toretto, I call Gino Toretto. What's it? But
I said one the other day too.
So everyone in here is in agreement with Common for Silver Surfer. We should like create some hashtag and campaign for Common as Silver Surfer.
Right. Common for Silver Surfer, since everybody seems to like that.
So yeah, hashtag Common for
It's very rare. It's very rare there's a Marvel or DC casting that's universally liked. I'm sure we'll find plenty of trolls on the internet who will hate it.
Yeah. But yeah. Also, I want to go back and read some more of those Star Wars comics. Catch up on some of those, like the Dark Horse line and stuff like that. Blue Green Artifacts is starting over with Paper Girls and Saga. Paper Girls, I think, I want to say underrated, but it seems like you don't hear it talked about as much. And it's, if you like Brian K. Vaughan, it's definitely one of those ones to pick up and read if you haven't read it yet, especially if it's like Female Goonies or if you like the Stranger Things or those type stories. Paper Girls is a good one.
And definitely, I mean, it's already been optioned, but definitely a series in the making. Like that's going to be, there's some books you read and you go, man, this is made to be adapted. Paper Girls is definitely one.
Yeah. And then they also reviewed Paper Girls on Comic Core on their episode of Modern Men, as well as Southern Bastards. So make you guys if you want to know more about that, go over there and check out the Comic Core and their Modern Men playlist, and they have those up there. Also, when we're going to the Comic Core again is immediately after this live stream, they're going to be going live on their channel. They're actually going to have the president of Hero Initiative on there tonight, and I believe Jack is going to go and join that discussion as well. But any other questions you're seeing in the chat, Jack?
Yeah, we got a couple. Adam, Strange Tales to Collect. Shout out to my man Adam, great YouTube channel. Go check them out. He asked about Mephisto. I think Mephisto is major villain in the making. There has been so much demand for that first appearance, and I'll tell you guys this. Brian and I sometimes are privy to some like inside information, and one thing that one of our dealer buddies who does a lot of sales of high-end Silver Age keys, he has told us that book is sneaky one of the most popular books at the convention scene right now from buyers who are like in the know. Those kind of high-end buyers who are putting together those keys that they really feel strongly about. People are checking out that Silver Surfer #3. So I think Mephisto is definitely in play. I think with us going horror, he comes into play even more. So that is a strong piece of speculation right there.
Right. Also, we're live. We haven't been able to do this. I try to do this during the premieres of our shows a lot. But if you're in the chat and you have a YouTube channel, make sure you shout it out in the chat so people can check out your content and sub you guys up. But I'm going to ask you a question real quick, Jack, because you seem to be, I don't want to say less sentimental, but you don't hold on to books as much. If you have one book in your collection that your house burnt down, all that good stuff, you could save one book, what would it be?
So there was an easy answer to this. I will admit with the CBSI split, maybe there's a little bit of, since it's all happened, a sour taste in my mouth. But I will say the Knights of the Golden Sun variant that you and I had a hand in producing. I've said this before. I said this to the CEO of Boom Studios. Key issues I will get in my possession. I will sell. I will have them time and time again. That is a book that was the very first time that I had an integral part in creating a piece of comic book collecting. And that makes me feel happy on a completely different level. I feel like I was able to contribute something to the hobby. And then our variant program hasn't been a variant program where we felt like we were taking from the hobby. We felt like we were creating unique collectibles. So that would probably be like the book that I would have to keep above all else. It almost has nothing to do with the book and more to do with kind of the memories that the book kind of comes in with.
You don't think you could get another one if your house burnt down?
I mean, I could get another one, but I don't think I could get my copy that I got when they were fresh off line. Sure, you could get another one for sure. But that's the thing, and I hate to be like this about comics. Like, that's why I'm not sentimental about any one comic, because you can replace anything, really. You may not be able to replace it for the price you got it for, but everything comes back around.
So we got Blue Green Artifacts asking, what do you think about Viggo Mortensen as Mephisto?
I'd like it. I think Mephisto is a character where you can go a little older with. I think you can use Mephisto for a couple movies.
What about Will Ferrell? He played an awesome job as the devil in Little Nicky.
I mean, anything's possible. But see, I don't understand why isn't Keanu thrown out from Mephisto?
Yeah. Matt Dungy,
that to me is
which
more
comic book title are you most mad about being delayed? I'll say right now, my favorite book to read right now, I've said it before, is Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil.
I'm gonna say most mad.
Venom.
No, like it's not even like a book that I really want to read, person. Not that I don't want to read them, but I'm more frustrated with like the AWA Upshot books. These books that just came out with #1 issues, and they're not being able to capitalize with #2 issues.
Everyone's talking about Resistance. I'm telling you, Archangel 8, awesome. I enjoyed them all. I went back and picked all of them up, but Archangel 8 was
I thought Archangel 8 was a better. I thought was book.
So we got another one here. What's the future of the Bolo list and any other new content plans coming up? So we got some good content coming up.
I love this one. Yeah. Do you mind if I go ahead and share with them?
Let's share it.
Kind of down the pike. So we've been working on some things. First off, in the Wednesday slot or third slot where the Bolo show is, we are still going to have a Bolo list on Wednesday. There will still be a Bolo show on Thursday. It will look and sound a little different. Now it is the Bolo buy list. Think about a top 10 show, but with our Simpleman's Comics twist. Instead of being a top 10 books the way you see other people do it, like you'll see whether it's CBSI with their Hot 10, whether it's the Key Collector top 20, whether it's the Comic Tom pick 10 out of the Key Collector top 20. All of these lists highlight books that have already spiked in the market. And what we wanted to do is give you a buy list. So 10 books that I'm looking at right now as potential buys in the market. And that is going to be in replace of the Bolo list just until new comics come back into the market. So you'll still get a Bolo list. It'll be back issue focused. I already made the list for next week. It's a great mix of like keys everybody knows to some books that are available pretty cheap, some good buys. And then again, we'll get on the mic on Wednesday, record it Wednesday for Thursday to kind of give you our breakdown on what we're thinking and seeing when we look at these books. But that's not all. We are going to have 2 other programs throughout the week during this kind of unfortunate kind of quarantine we're all in. One will replace the Friday last call show. I don't know which one of these programs we're going to do. One is called Top Trades. And in Top Trades, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight these great comic book reads. It's a great opportunity for that. Also, there's going to be a companion article on simplemanscomics.com where you'll have links to all of these trades. So here we'll give you different categories, whether it's Marvel, DC, Image, Boom, IDW, Indie, and some wild card picks. And we will give you every week 1 book from each of those categories to check out that either we've read or the community's been really strong on. And we're going to highlight those. And again, that's a area of the market I feel like that not enough YouTubers are paying attention to because it's not a flippable market. So, you know, the trades get overlooked altogether, but trade paperbacks are essential to the LCS. They're essential to comic creators, and
There's
they're
some
great
trades out
for
there
us.
that are worth a lot of money too.
And there are some trades that are worth a lot of money. It's a market that's slept on. But also, I mean, like I said, great reading is great. I don't have to sell you on that. And then on top of it, it also can provide you with investment strategy information to read. And finally, we're going to bring back the Simpleman's top 10, but we're not going to do it again, similar to like with the Bolo buy list. We're not going to do it the way we've always done it. We're going to do categorized top 10s. So I'll give you a spoiler for week 1. You're going to get the top 10 Moon Knight variants. So you're going to start to see categorized top 10s. Might be top 10 J. Scott Campbell covers. Might be top 10 Batman villain covers. There could be any number of categories, but we're going to give you some top 10 lists. I know you guys love top 10 lists. They always spark debate, get people talking. Be on the lookout for all of that
Top
content.
10 Yankee Candle fragrances. Okay, hold on. There was good questions in here also. Ancient Mariner asked, Bolo long-term play for Fantastic Four 48? Question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, Fantastic Four 48, 49, and 50 are as solid as any like long-term solid investment you can make. But I'll go a step back. 44, 45, 46, the Inhuman stuff, don't sleep on it.
Yeah, it already hit one cycle, and I think you're going to see that again.
Yeah, don't think that terrible TV show is gonna preclude the Indians from
There was a
showing
TV show.
in the CU. So yeah, exactly. Let's pretend it didn't happen.
He also asked why No One's Rose, that new Vault book, wasn't on the reader buzz this week. That's probably.
Yeah,
I know.
it's a
Go ahead
book I
and get
like.
into it.
Yeah, it's a book I like. It's
It was a great
the
read.
same answer I could give. Yeah, it's the same answer I could give any week on the Bolo list. Just it wasn't being reposted.
Yeah.
So the Bolo list is made up of what is being talked about on social media, what has a lot of demand on the secondary market, and it didn't have that. So it wasn't when people were posting books they were excited about, it wasn't getting posted enough. So there's a book you're really passionate about before New Comic Book Day, make sure you are posting on social media. Tag me, do what you got to do to make sure it gets seen if you want it to be a Bolo list entry. If it doesn't end up on the Bolo list, there's always going to be great books. That's why Brian mentions it on a weekly basis, that there's always great books that we like that don't end up on the Bolo list. There's always books like my long-term play this week wouldn't have been on the Bolo list.
Yeah. It
would not have made it because it just wasn't talked about at all. And I had to kind of fit it in that section. I'm also seeing new to the channel, what's Bolo stand for? Sometimes I think we take that for granted, so I apologize for that. Bolo stands for be on the lookout. It is a common term used in retail and in the fashion industry. It comes from police jargon.
Criminal justice, yeah.
But yeah, it comes from police jargon. You'll see like cops will say they're putting a bolo out on someone. That means they're letting all police in the area know that they're looking for somebody. But in the clothing industry, we use it to let somebody know that there is a good deal on something. So you say, hey, you need to, bolo on this brand because it's selling real well. And when I got involved in the marketing of comicbookinvest.com, I felt like CBSI was kind of growing stale and needed kind of a marketing angle, and I came up with the idea of the whole bolo concept of what our content would be around. And then once it started to pick up steam, I wanted to make sure nobody else ever stole it from me. So I started monitoring
Redskins win the Super Bowl.
Mr. Bolo, that's no chance. Yeah, no chance for that.
Also,
you don't have to bolo that.
If you want a good TV show where they use the term bolo a lot, watch FX's Justified. Awesome TV show. But
yeah.
So we're getting kind of towards that mark right now. I want to thank everyone that joined us in the live chat tonight. We had a lot of great questions. Let us know also if this is something you'd like to see more of, if we do some live streams, some Q&A, stuff like this. I enjoyed the live stream, especially this type show, because one, I don't have to edit it afterwards. And that's always a great thing. And we didn't have a bunch of graphics we had to flash up and show on the screen or anything like that. So definitely appreciate everyone in the chat. Also, let us know if you want to see more of these. And if you guys are watching this on the replay, let us know in the comments. What did you think? Would you like to see more Q&A? Or I almost said that wrong. But we definitely appreciate all you guys. And again, make sure you guys check out the Comic Cord on YouTube right after this, because they're going to have the President from Here initiative on there. And they also have a great live show every Friday night. They have a bunch of live shows throughout the week. So either way, check out the Comic Core YouTube channel, sub those guys up. And from Brian and Jack, this is Simpleman Comics. And we appreciate you guys joining us in this live chat.
#common for Silver Surfer.